Is that right eye still very clearly bothering her? She will go right back into the skillful hands of Tom.
The Indiana Fever punished their star forward Nalyssa Smith with a ban, and you know what that means. More details come in from Nalyssa's past, and fans cannot believe this. So crazy.
Baylor with only 5 turnovers. Richards to Smith, up and in.
As a freshman in college, you were like a freight train that had no brakes. You ruled the court and left defenses in your dust. The top dogs got cold feet watching you play. They knew that. Trying to stop you would fail, just like trying to keep Shaq out of the paint. But let us be honest, your fierce style of play wasn't just about skill, it was about sending a message. Remember, that infamous elbow you threw during the NCAA tournament? Oh, you know the one. The one that had pundits saying, "Is this basketball or UFC?" The ref gave you a flagrant foul, but you weren't the one with the real punishment. Nope. The real punishment was the poor soul on the receiving end of that elbow who probably had to explain to their dentist why they needed emergency work done. If you are enjoying this video, please leave a like, hit the bell icon to subscribe. Don't even get me started on the time you went up for a block and sent the poor player flying into the stands. That wasn't defense, that was a WWE Royal Rumble move dressed as basketball.
Boston lobbing it in. Nalyssa Smith trying to give it back to Reese Smith. Tough bucket.
When the Indiana Fever drafted you second overall in 2022, they were expecting a club savior, a dominant presence who could turn the tides for a struggling team. But instead of a light of hope, Nalyssa, they got a storm of chaos. Sure, your ability was undeniable, but your approach to the game? Let's just say it needed a lot of work. The WNBA isn't just about being great, it's about being a worker. And that's where you started to break. There's no denying you're physically gifted. You move like a freight train barreling through a busy street, unstoppable, but at the same time, completely reckless. The trouble is, basketball is an art, not a demolition derby.
Taller than Nalyssa Smith.
Ellie was 1 for 10 coming into today from beyond the arc. Nice quick pass.
While other players finesse their way around defenses, you prefer to bulldoze through them. And don't get me wrong, brute strength has its place in the game, but you've taken it to a whole new level. You don't just question shots, you swipe like you're chopping down trees. You don't box out, you shove opponents out of the way like they're furniture in your path. And that scowl you wear on the court, it's less game face and more I just woke up and picked violence. Fans called it love at first. But now, it's looking a lot more like unchecked violence. Nalyssa, this isn't Baylor anymore. You can't just beat everyone on the court and expect it to work forever. In college, your raw strength was enough to win, but in the WNBA, that same brute style has made you a walking liability. Remember that game against the New York Liberty in your rookie season? It wasn't just a foul, it was a full-on body check. The Liberty's point guard went flying like she was auditioning for a Marvel movie, and you didn't even flinch. The refs called it a flagrant, but let's be real, it was practically a tackle. Your fans said, that's just Nalyssa being Nalyssa. But here's the thing in the pros, that excuse doesn't fly. This isn't a backyard fight. The WNBA is a league of skill, elegance, and respect. But you, Nalyssa, you've treated it like a battlefield, leaving a line of bruised players and broken plays behind you. And it's not just your on-court antics that raise eyes, it's the way you carry yourself. Nalyssa, you've been given this amazing platform, but instead of using it to elevate your game and your team, you've turned it into a stage for your aggression. Take that memorable scuffle with a player from the game in China. What started as a normal loose ball scramble turned into a shoving match that could have easily escalated into a full-blown fight. Let's call it what it is, you didn't shove her to make a point, you shoved her because that's your usual setting. When things don't go your way, you don't adjust, you strike out. And that's not toughness. Nalyssa, that's foolishness. There's a fine line between playing hard and playing dirty. and you crossed it a long time ago. Now, let's talk about the effect you've had on the league. Opposing players don't just prepare for your skill, they brace themselves for the expected collisions. Coaches game plan around your physicality, not because it's unbeatable, but because it's unpredictable. No one knows when your next reckless foul or needless shove is coming, and that makes you a liability not just for your opponents, but for your own team. Even your friends aren't safe from the Nalyssa effect. How many times have we seen you bark at them during games? How many times have you thrown your hands up in anger when they miss a pass or fail to catch your rebound?
Taylor cut off on the baseline. Smith shot fake the three. Oh, look at the behind the back and the push shot. Smith showing off the move.
Leadership isn't about fear, Nalyssa. It's about bringing others up, not tearing them down. But you seem to think that being loud and aggressive is the same as being a boss. Spoiler alert, it's not. And then there's the trash talk. Oh, Nalyssa, you've got a lot on you. Most players use hate talk as a tool to get inside their opponent's head, but you use it like a sledgehammer. It's not smart, it's not strategic, it's just mean. Remember that game against the Phoenix Mercury when you got into it with your opponent? The two of you were jawing at each other all game, but when she hit a big shot in your face, you couldn't handle. Instead of letting your game do the talking, you turned to petty insults and post-game shade.
Fashion is huge to me. I love, expressing myself through clothes. I love when, people send me clothes for me to wear and represent their brands and stuff like that. So, if y'all want to send me some clothes, send me some clothes.
That's not competitive energy, that's insecurity. Nalyssa, it's becoming clear that you're more interested in the drama than the game itself. The Indiana Fever brought you in to be a cornerstone of their rebuild, but instead, you've become the center of debate. Your talent is obvious, but your attitude, it's holding you back. You could be the face of the brand, but instead, you've become the face of fines, suspensions, and locker room tension. And now, with this new suspension, the Fever have to ask themselves, is it worth it? Is your raw talent enough to excuse the chaos you bring? Because right now, Nalyssa, you're not just hurting your opponents, you're hurting your team.
Woo! Bow, bow, bow.
Okay. Hey, we'll meet you outside the locker room.
Let's talk about that game against the New York Liberty during your rookie season. The Liberty's point guard was rushing to the basket, and what did you do? You didn't just block. The shot you sent her sprawling to the floor like she was preparing for a soap show. The refs called a harsh foul, and the Liberty's bench looked like they were ready to throw hands. Then there was that incident with a player where you two got into a shoving match that turned into a full-on shouting fight. I mean, who knew the WNBA needed a trash talk translator just for your games? And let's not forget your signature scowl, the one that says, "And come at me and you'll regret it." You've always been a controversial figure, even off the court. Your interviews, oh, they're famous. When most players talk about teamwork and respect, you're out here dropping lines like, and if you can't keep up, that's your problem, not mine. That's not confidence, that's straight up villain attitude.
Skylar Vann on Jenny Baranchek's bench, leading the Sooners with 8 points in this first half.
Word on the street is, you're not exactly the rah-rah type with your friends. Instead of pulling people up, you're more like, hey, get it together or get out of my way. And there's leadership, and then there's bullying, and you've got a PhD in the latter. How about the fight during practice? Really, practice? Not even Allen Iverson could have predicted this one. Reports say it started as a simple disagreement over plays, but it quickly escalated into a heated fight. You didn't just share your opinion, you went full malice at the palace mode. Words were said, tempers flared, and next thing you know, you're facing legal action. Congratulations, you've officially joined the Dennis Rodman of the WNBA club.
Did she just get hit with a T? And Kennedy Carter was just telling Angel Reese to stop talking and be smarter.
Looking at your work, this isn't exactly out of character, is it? Let's connect the dots. Back in Baylor, you were known for your physical play and relentless aggression. In the WNBA, you've brought that same energy, but now the stakes are higher and the scrutiny is sharper. Overly rough plays that lead to injuries. Check. Heated discussions with opponents? Check. A tendency to push limits and test the ref's patience? Double check. Nalyssa, it's like you're playing basketball with a side of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, watch the multiple defenses with Oklahoma, starting in the man-to-man.
So what's next for you, Nalyssa? Can you bounce back from this ban, or is this the beginning of the end? The Fever clearly believe in your ability, but even the most talented players can't afford to alienate their team and fans. The question is, will you take this as a wake-up call? Will you dial back the anger and focus on letting your game do the talking? Or will you double down and embrace the villain part, becoming the player everyone loves to hate?
Ball, though, that's 2 plays on the ball where you're getting that rub action, you're getting DHO action, and what it's doing is it's creating space. But what?
Your suspension doesn't just affect you, Nalyssa. It's a reflection of the WNBA's attempts to balance competitive intensity with sportsmanship. The league wants players who are passionate but polite, fiery but fair. And right now, you're walking a tightrope between being a star and being a risk. The playoff game against the Connecticut Sun was a defining moment, not for victory, but for the glaring cracks in Nalyssa Smith's judgment and loyalty. And as a teammate,
She held on for like at least 10 seconds, it felt like. I'm like, it's because you were in a dream. Back at home. That I was not. Thank you. She swears she didn't do it on purpose. She was like, I just was making sure you didn't fall. Bro, the way that she wrapped them arms around, she damn near interlocked at the front. Bro, nah, you dragged it. 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 Can you finally admit in front of me and everybody else that you dragged it?
How did I drag it? I helped you up.
Bro, because nobody holds on to me. So you be helping everybody up like that? Have you ever seen me do that? I'm asking if that's normal.
the Fever were in the heat of battle, facing off against a formidable opponent's son when an incident on the court showed how personal biases and misplaced loyalties can affect team dynamics. It began when Dejounte Carrington, playing for the Sun, poked Caitlin Clark in the eye during a fight for possession. The act was obvious to everyone in the arena and even more so to those watching on screens. Caitlin, visibly in pain, would need support from her friends. But instead of standing with her, Nalyssa Smith turned a blind eye, choosing silence over unity. As a leader on the Fever, Nalyssa had a responsibility to advocate for her team, especially in moments of adversity. This was a chance to step up, show composure, and defend a fellow player. Instead, her actions or lack thereof spoke loudly. Nalyssa chose not to address the situation, failing to recognize the gravity of what had happened to Caitlin. It's no secret that Nalyssa shares a close relationship with Dejounte Carrington off the court. However, professionalism demands separating personal ties from on-court responsibilities. By ignoring the event, Nalyssa sent a message that her loyalty to Carrington outweighed her commitment to her own team. This move not only alienated Caitlin, but also created a rift in the Fever's already fragile chemistry. The aftermath of this event was telling. Caitlin, one of the team's brightest stars, appeared isolated during the ensuing huddle, while Nalyssa avoided addressing the problem altogether.
Yeah, and that gives a lot of confidence to her teammates, when she plays that well.
Such moments can greatly impact morale, especially in high-stakes playoff situations. The Fever needed unity, but Nalyssa's inaction reinforced divide instead. Basketball is a game of trust and responsibility. Players depend on each other to have their backs, especially when tensions run high. Nalyssa's choice to stand aside when Caitlin needed her most showed a lack of leadership and questioned her loyalty to the team. In professional sports, dedication to the jersey you wear should always come first. On that night, it was clear Nalyssa didn't put the Fever first. She placed her personal ties over the team, and the team paid the price. This suspension is huge, but it's also a chance. The ball is in your court now. Will you rise above the drama, or will you let it define you? Let us know in the comments, is Nalyssa Smith the WNBA's next great comeback story? Or is she a ticking time bomb ready to explode? Either way, one thing's for sure, we'll all be watching. If you like this deep dive into Nalyssa Smith's career, hit that like button, subscribe for more basketball content, and don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.